Hey CRMers, me here. This time around in this vlog session, I'm going to cover the new customizable help in CRM 2015. So customizable help is exactly what it says. It's about directing end users to an end user guide that you created yourself, but it has to be a web page, or you can direct it to something like SharePoint or a learning management system that contains details of how to use CRM. But today I'm going to be showing you how you can utilize another Microsoft product with the customizable help function in CRM. So in CRM, there is a question mark icon on the top right hand side, and when end users click on this, they're going to be directed to another window where it's going to contain information from the Dynamic CRM Customer Center. And previously, if you wanted this button to be directed to something else, you couldn't do that, but in CRM 2015, it's now allowed. So if you want the button to redirect to another URL path, you can change that in the system settings. So I'm in the settings area, and basically you scroll across and you hit administration. When you click on administration, these are the options that you're going to see, and then you want to click on system settings. In the general tab, when you scroll down, there's a new heading called set custom help URL. Basically, you want to update this to yes, so by default it'll be no. So you change it to yes, and then you just copy and paste the URL of the web page, website, the SharePoint, or the learning management system in here. Append parameters to the URL means it'll append CRM related record information. So I'll show you this when we get to there. So this is customizing the help URL at a global level. In CRM 2015, it will also allow you to do it at the individual entity level. So at the moment, I've got my solution open up. I've added the product entity. I've clicked on the product entity, and then you scroll down, and again you'll see a new heading called help. Basically, you tick the checkbox, and then you copy and paste your URL. And so every time someone's in the product and they click on the help icon, it's going to direct them to the web page or the website or the SharePoint or learning management system URL from what you copy and pasted into there. So the question is, okay, that's great, but what if the customer I'm working with, or what if the organization that you're currently in, where CRM 2015 is being used, doesn't have the budget? So what other options are there? I don't have money to spend on a great SharePoint system or a full-on learning management system, but I still want to be able to provide a customized or tailored guide for my end users. The answer is, well, there's a Microsoft product that can be utilized here, and it's actually Microsoft Word. So with Microsoft Word, there's different types of functions that can be used, and you can save it. You can save Microsoft Word files into different file formats. So the key thing here is you would save it into an HTML or HTML format. So that's the easy bit. The other component to it is making your Word document look like as if it's going to be a user guide. So if they want to know about a particular product, then that means when I add the URL in here, I want them to be able to see information on the product instantly and that they don't have to scroll around. So today I'm actually going to show you some features that maybe you weren't aware of in Word, but these are features that I use pretty much every time I work on a project and I'm doing my document. So it's actually a cool working solution, well, in my opinion, so that's why I'm blogging about this. Okay, so when you're in Microsoft Word, there's the ability to change the format of your text. So if I put in, hi there, there's the things that we know of where you can change the font and you can change the size if you want, and you can change the color. So that's pretty standard. But maybe something that you weren't aware of is you can actually change the style of your text. So for example, if you have, let's call them sections. Outline summary. Okay, so pretend that this is all text in here, okay? Let me just change this back. So that's great, and if you wanted to distinguish that this is a particular title for the section, sometimes you can bold it or you could possibly underline it. But really what should be used here in this scenario is the function of styles. So styles in CRM is another way of quickly changing the format. So these are titles of sections in the document, but rather than doing bold and change the color and whatnot, I can actually use the Microsoft Word style. So I'm just going to expand this in here. Oh, by the way, I'm using Word 2013. Yes, Office 2013. Okay, so in the style section of Word, you have the ability to change the format, and it also gives you the different categories that you can change. So things like normal means it would apply to here, whereas with your titles you can change things like the title section if you want. So see how when I clicked on that it automatically changed it, and if I change it back to normal it's going to go with the normal styling, except this is now not changing. Okay. Oh man. Okay, that's better. Okay, cool. All right. So you can, where was I? So you can change the styling. So normally in when I do documents, I will actually use the heading style. So if I click on that, I can do that as well. The other thing that you can do is use table of contents. So when you use table of contents, it's gonna apply a table of contents based on where you want it in the document. So to do that, you go to References and you go Table of Contents. You can select your style. So I'm going to go with the first one, and then as you can see, it's already entered in here, and then when you do the control click, it's actually going to take you to where your heading is. So in the table of contents, it's actually picking up the headings. If I had a subheading, it'll do the same as well. So just for demonstration's sake, I'm going to highlight those two words and I'm going to select heading 2. Okay, so if I go back to my table of contents and I update this field, it's now going to pick up my subheadings because of how I'm using the styling. And so if I now do control click, oops, it's going to take me to my subheading because that's where I've clicked on. So styles can also be very useful when you use table of contents to help outline your document as well. The other thing with headings, when you use the style function in Word, you can also view it quickly in the navigation pane. So all I did was I went to view, I went into navigation pane, and now it's picking up my headings. So now if I click on summary, it's going to automatically direct to summary, and then same with purpose, it goes up there. So do you kind of get where I'm going with this? Well, hopefully I'm doing a good job here. So I'm going to now change over to one of my documents that I prepared earlier for this vlog. So here's a products guide that I've created based on my last vlog session, and I've pretty much done what I've shown you. So I'm using styles, so I'm using the heading and the different heading formats in here, so that when I have my table of contents, it's going to show up here. And then if I click on any of the page numbers, oops, it's going to take me there. Cool. So then the other thing that you can do as part of this is, if you want to go back to contents, then you create a hyperlink back to contents. So I'm going to show you another trick that exists in Word. If I go to insert, there's the option hyperlink and bookmark. So we'll get to hyperlink in a moment. What I'm going to do is actually create a bookmark. So in my bookmark, I'm going to create a bookmark for my table of contents. So a bookmark in Microsoft Word is similar to the concept of an anchor. So if you've used anchors in your emails, or if you use anchors in your website, it's pretty much the same function here in Microsoft Word. So if you create a hyperlink to your bookmark, it's going to take you where this bookmark is on the page. So I'm just giving it TOC, so table of contents, as my bookmark name. So then now when I go back to any of my other sections, let me just remove this, I can actually type in something like back to contents, and now we can actually do a hyperlink back to that bookmark. So when you click on hyperlink in Microsoft Word, these are the options that you get. So place in this document, blah, blah, blah. So the one that I want to select is my bookmark. So the bookmark that I created earlier is showing in here. Now, going back to the usefulness of styles in Microsoft Word, if you wanted to create a hyperlink within your document and make the link direct to another section in the document, you can do it using hyperlinks because of how you've used styles, or how you've used headings in your document. If I didn't use headings, so for example, if I only made product structure bold in my document and did not apply a heading style, this wouldn't appear at all. But because I've used headings, Microsoft Word knows that these are sections in the document. But as you can see, table of contents isn't in there, and that's why I've created a bookmark. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, and if I click on OK, it's now created a link back to the table of contents. So my mouse cursor is just hovering over back to contents, and notice how it's picking up that my hyperlink is directing to the bookmark that I just created. So if I now click on this, it's going to take me up to the table of contents. So now it's starting to look like a guide. Okay, and this, all I did was I just inserted a symbol. So again, you can insert an arrow just to indicate that, hey, you can go back up to contents yourself. So basically, this is a product guide that I created based on my previous vlog in Word. And so the next thing that you can do to make it a web page is actually save it as an HTML file, and then upload it onto a web server, which I'll show you next. So I go to File and I go Save As, and I call this Index. So the key thing here is you need to name it as Index in order for this to work when you upload it onto your web server. So this is the file type that I want to save as. So I click that and I click Save, and I should now, oops, sorry, you're not meant to see it. I should now have my Word document created, and when I go into my Windows Explorer, I'm going to see two files that have been created as a result of me saving it as an HTML or HTML file. So now that we have saved this as an HTML file, it's going to look different if you open it up in Word. So the table of contents, the page numbers drop off because, well, in a web page you don't exactly have page numbers. It's just a long page and you scroll down. So that's why the page numbers aren't showing. But the hyperlinks are still working, and it's still recognizing my headings, my heading style. So if I click on things like product relationship, it's gonna take me there. Okay, I just need to update the field. Okay, so there we go. It's taking me to product relationship, and if I click on back to contents, it's going to take me to the back of contents. So this is good. This is what we want. We're trying to replicate an end user guide experience in the form of a web page, and I've been able to do that in Word. So the next step now is making this file accessible on your network or externally, and grabbing that URL and putting it in the custom help URL system settings or in the entity setting. So the next idea that I had for this was we could put the files onto a web server and get it created as a website so that people can access it. So this is what I'm going to show you next. So you need to, so I'm logged into a development web server, and I need to grab the files that were created when I converted it from Word to HTML and dump it into here. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, if I copy these and I go into here and I try to paste it directly into the folder, I'm going to get an error. So what you need to do is paste it onto the desktop and copy it over across. And I just realized I didn't explain what folder you need to save it in. So we're, okay. Sorry, just give me a moment. I need to think about how I'm going to explain this. We're gonna add, the reason why we're adding the files onto this web server is so that we can upload it into IIS Manager and make the files accessible through a website. So to do that, we need to store the website file, well, the HTML files onto the server so that it can retrieve it. And to do that, you need to save it into the inet folder. So this is usually in the C drive, and you go to inetpub and www.root. Create a folder in here, which is what I've done. I've just called it test.ev, and then you can copy and paste the files that you took over into here. Cool, so now my files are in the folder that IIS can use. So here I am, And basically, when you open IIS, you need to expand this little guy here, and you should see another folder called Sites. And when you expand this, it's going to give you a list of sites that are available. So then what you want to do is you want to click on Add Website, and you give it a site name. Cool. And now I'm going to grab it from that folder that I created. Which is here, and I click OK. Okay, here's the bit that I may not explain clearly, only because I'm not an infrastructure resource, so they would probably explain this better than me. But here's what I know: if it's port 80, this means it's going to be publicly facing, and so you could give it a host name, so something like customized help. I can't spell. Customized help, .com or whatever you want, and then you would have to make a change in the DNS so that it can be accessed externally outside of the network. I don't have access to do that, so the option that I'm going to go with is just making it available internally. So let me just delete all of this. So when I'm making it available internally, I'm not going to give it a host name. I could still give it a host name, but again, that requires a change in the DNS, but I don't have access to that. So I'm going to change this to a port number, and I've been told that generally anything above 5,000 is okay. So in this scenario, I'm just going to go with 5514. I've got it. Okay, so this is happening because I've already got this set up here. So if I go something like 5512, that should be okay. And to test that it works, you now click on Browse Website, which is on the right-hand side in IIS Manager, and this is going to bring up the page. Cool. So here's the HTML file, as you can see, and it is working. So this is what I created in here when I created this website, and now it's actually a working web page. So to test this out, oh, hang on. I need to save this. Cool. I had an old copy. Let me just do this again. We'll click cancel. Okay. Okay, that's better. Now it's showing me the full details, and now my table of contents is going to work. So when I click on product bundle, it's going to take me straight to hit the product bundle area. And then if I click on back to contents, it's going to take me up here. So again, if I click on any of these other headings that is in my table of contents, it'll take me here, and then it'll take me back to the contents. So with with this URL, if you copy and pasted it into Dynamic CRM, it's not going to work because localhost means it's being run on the server that I'm logged into. So if you wanted to copy and paste the URL into Microsoft Dynamics CRM, and you've created your website in the way where it can only be accessed internally in your network, then you just need to replace localhost in here with the server name. So it's myrsbak06. BAK06. Okay, and just to test this, that it works fine, great. Okay, so now I'm back into my own actual laptop. I've grabbed that URL, and now we can copy and paste this URL into the custom help URL section in CRM. So I go back, and yes, I don't have it open. Okay, so going back to system settings, I scroll down, set custom help URL. I copy and paste the URL into here. I select the option yes, I want to add the parameters into the URL. I click OK. Let me close this down. I'll do a refresh of my browser, and I'm just going to go anywhere in CRM. And then now when I click this question mark icon, it should now bring up the products guide, because I've set the URL as the global reference for help. So I hope this works. Yay, it did. So that's cool. So that one works. But now what if we want to set it at the individual entity level? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the URL for product. So now I'm going to click on product. And because I've used table of contents, it's actually adding that reference up here. So now when I copy and paste this URL, it's going to work. But the thing that you have to realize is, because it's using the parameters from CRM and it's appending it to the URL here, if I copy and pasted this URL into this area, it's not really ideal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the web server that I'm remotely logged in and actually click on product in here, and I'm actually going to copy and paste this URL into CRM. So now if I go back to CRM and I copy and paste this URL, it's going to look like this. So notice that it does not have the appended references in here. If I selected the system setting option of no, don't append parameters to the URL, then it wouldn't show it. But because I have, it's showing those, and I just wanted to grab the actual URL from the web dev server. Okay, so now if I click save, it's going to update my entity, and I'm going to publish this as well. And when this is published, we're going to refresh my Firefox browser, and we're going to make sure that it does work. So let's go to products. I'm going to open up a product record. Okay, fingers crossed. Let's hope this works. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Yes. Okay, so that works. So as you can see, you can combine Microsoft Word to create a tailored end user guide. If you don't have a full-on learning management system, or a SharePoint site, or a nicely built learning website that can be accessed internally, yeah, Microsoft Word is your friend. So the key things to remember, if you do decide to use this option, is when you go to Word and you create your document, you want to use the style function of Word. So make sure you highlight any titles of your sections and apply a heading style. If you don't do this, then it's not going to show up in the table of contents. So that's the second thing that you need to do in your Word document. So after you've created your text in the document and you've applied the styles, the next thing to do is add the table of contents, and then this will create the hyperlinks in the background for your headings. Okay. The third bit is if you want to be able to have end users go back to the table of contents, then create a bookmark for the table of contents, then create some text that makes sense to the user for them to go back to the table of contents, and you create a hyperlink and you make a reference to the bookmark that you just created, and then you want to save the file as an HTML, then upload the files onto a web server that's available within your network. If you don't have a web server, or if it's being hosted by someone, then you have to give them the files. Sorry, I said that wrong. If you don't have access to the web server for your organization, so in other words, it's your IT team, or you have a hosting provider, then you give them the files, and then they will have to create the website for you in IIS and give you the hyperlinks to the different areas of the document based on the table of contents. So then once you have those URLs, then you can add them into CRM. So you would go into settings, you go into system settings, which is under administration. You update the setting to yes, that you want to use customized help, and you do the same for any individual entities that the help needs to be directed to a web page. And there you go. Use two Microsoft products if you want customized help. So the first one being Dynamics CM15 and the second one being Microsoft Word. Maybe there's some things that you learned today from me regarding Microsoft Word that you weren't aware of. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I shall see you next time. Cool.